One wrong move in this episode quietly decides who survives this season and who does not. And most people missed it because the danger is hidden behind calm faces, slow talks, and choices that look small but are actually deadly. This episode opens with tension that feels quiet but heavy, like something bad is already decided before anyone speaks. Tommy is not rushing anymore. His calm is the real warning sign. When a man like Tommy slows down, it means the plan is already set and someone is about to walk into it. Every conversation in this episode feels careful, almost polite, but underneath that calm tone is fear. People are not asking questions because they are scared of the answers. The city feels tighter, smaller, like there is no room left to run. Tommy watches more than he talks. And when he does speak, every word feels chosen. This is the moment in the season where the game changes from street fights to silent traps. The episode makes it clear that power is no longer about muscle. It is about timing, patience, and letting enemies destroy themselves without even knowing. As the episode moves forward, you can feel trust breaking down in real time. Characters look at each other differently now. Small pauses, long stares, and half-finished sentences show that nobody fully believes anyone anymore. This is not loud betrayal yet. This is the stage right before it. People are testing loyalty. With small moves, watching reactions, and measuring fear, Tommy understands this better than anyone. He lets others talk, lets them explain themselves, and that is how he learns who is lying. The danger here is not the guns or threats. The danger is information. Who knows what, who hides what, and who talks too much. Episode 9 is about learning who is smart enough to stay quiet and who is already digging their own grave. What makes this episode powerful is how normal everything looks on the surface. Meetings happen, deals are discussed, and plans are made. Like usual, but every scene carries a second meaning. A friendly talk is really a warning, a promise is really a delay tactic, a calm answer is really a threat. Tommy does not need to scare people anymore. His reputation does that work for him. The episode shows how fear spreads without a single bullet fired. People start making mistakes because they are trying too hard to stay alive. They rush decisions, hide things poorly, and trust the wrong people. Tommy stays patient because he knows panic always exposes weakness. By the end of this section of the episode, the audience should feel something important has shifted, even if nothing explosive has happened yet. This is the setup before the storm. The episode quietly tells us that some characters are already dead. They just do not know it yet. Tommy is not reacting to danger anymore. He is guiding it. Every move from here on is part of a larger plan. And episode 9 is the moment where all the pieces are placed on the board. The real violence is coming later, but the damage starts here, in silence, in trust that should not exist, and in choices that feel safe but are anything but safe. The story in this part of the episode moves deeper into consequences. What was set up quietly before now starts to press down on every character. Tommy is no longer testing the room. He already knows where everyone stands. And now he begins to move people without them realizing it. Conversations feel more direct, but they are also more dangerous. Every deal discussed carries a hidden cost. When someone agrees too fast, it feels wrong. When someone hesitates, it feels worse. This is where episode 9 shows that survival is not about strength, but about reading the moment correctly. Some characters still believe they have time. The episode makes it clear they do not. Tommy's actions in this section show how far ahead he is thinking. He does not rush to shut anyone down. Instead, he gives people just enough rope to hang themselves. He allows plans to move forward that he knows will fail, because failure exposes everyone involved. This is classic control through patience. The more others talk, the more mistakes they make. Tommy listens, nods, and lets them feel comfortable. That comfort is the trap. What looks like trust is actually permission to reveal too much. By the time people realize they said the wrong thing, it is already too late to take it back. At the same time, the pressure inside the crew begins to show. Loyalty starts to feel forced instead of natural. Characters repeat promises instead of proving them. This is always a bad sign. The episode shows this through small moments, like people checking their phones too often, avoiding eye contact, or changing their tone mid-sentence. Nobody wants to be the first to admit fear, but fear is controlling every move. Tommy sees this clearly. He knows fear makes people predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. Another key part of this section is how silence becomes louder than action. Important things are left unsaid on purpose. Characters stop asking questions because they are afraid of what the answers might mean. This creates a dangerous space where assumptions take over. People think they understand the plan, but they only understand part of it. Tommy thrives in this confusion. He lets everyone believe they are included, while keeping the real plan to himself. This is how he stays alive while others expose themselves. The episode reminds us that the smartest person in the room is usually the quietest one. By the end of this section, the audience should feel the walls closing in. Choices made here cannot be undone later. Lines are crossed without gunshots or shouting. Trust is damaged in ways that will not heal. Episode 9 uses this middle stretch to quietly lock characters into their final paths. Some are walking toward. Power of others are walking toward punishment. And the most dangerous part is that many of them think they are still in control. Tommy knows better. He has already decided who matters and who does not. From this point forward, everything that happens is a reaction to choices made right here, in moments that seemed simple, safe, and forgettable, but were anything but this. Part of the episode shifts focus to what people are really thinking instead of what they are saying. The masks start to slip, not in loud ways, but in quiet moments where characters are alone or caught off guard. Tommy's mindset is colder here. He is not angry or emotional. He is clear. That clarity makes him dangerous. He already accepts that some people around him will not make it out of this season. Because of that, he stops trying to save relationships and starts protecting outcomes. Every decision he makes now is about the endgame, not the moment. Other characters, however, are not on the same level. Some are still acting like this is business as usual. They think loyalty is enough to protect them, but loyalty without awareness is weakness. The episode shows this through small personal choices. Someone shares information they should not. Someone trusts a promise that was never meant to be kept. Someone believes silence means safety, when it actually means they are being watched. These mistakes are not dramatic, but they are fatal in the long run. The episode makes it clear that nobody is getting out clean anymore. Tommy's strength in this section comes from how well he reads people. He notices who is nervous, who is trying too hard, and who suddenly wants reassurance. These details tell him everything. When someone asks the same question twice, it shows doubt. When someone explains too much, it shows fear. Tommy does not confront these signs directly. He stores them. He adjusts his plan quietly. This is why he stays ahead. He never reacts emotionally. He reacts strategically. There is also a growing sense that some characters are lying to themselves. They convince themselves they are in control because admitting the truth would mean admitting danger. The episode uses body language and pacing to show this. People stand farther apart. Conversations end faster. Trust feels thin. This is where hidden motivations become clear. Some people are not trying to win anymore. They are just trying to survive. And survival makes people selfish. That selfishness will soon expose them. This section also highlights how isolation becomes a weapon. Characters who once worked closely now handle things alone. They stop sharing details. They move in secret. They think this gives them power, but it actually makes them easier targets. Tommy understands this pattern well. Isolation weakens groups. Once people stop communicating, they stop protecting each other. That is when a single move can break everything. Episode 9 shows that this breakdown has already started. By the end of this section, Motivations are no longer hidden from the audience, even if they are still hidden from the characters themselves. We can see who is acting out of fear, who is acting out of greed, and who is acting with purpose. Tommy belongs to the last group. Everyone else is reacting to pressure instead of controlling it. This is the moment where paths become clear. Some characters are moving closer to power, whether they deserve it or not. Others are moving closer to consequences they cannot escape. The episode quietly tells us that not everyone understands the game they are playing anymore, and that misunderstanding will cost them everything very soon. This section of the episode rewards viewers who pay attention to small details. Nothing is placed on screen by accident anymore. Background choices, camera focus, and repeated phrases all carry meaning. One of the easiest Easter eggs to miss is how certain locations are framed. When characters meet in familiar places, the camera no longer feels comfortable. Angles are tighter, rooms feel boxed in, and exits are rarely visible. This quietly signals that safety no longer exists, even in places that once. Dialogue also hides callbacks that matter. Certain lines repeat phrases used earlier in the season, but now they carry a different tone. Words that once sounded confident now feel forced. This is intentional. It shows how power has shifted without anyone openly admitting it. When a character uses a phrase that once belonged to Tommy, it feels wrong, almost like theft. That discomfort is the clue. Power in this world is tied to identity. And borrowing someone else's language never works. For long. The episode uses these repeated words to show who is trying to act powerful and who actually is. There are also visual signals tied to trust and betrayal. Characters who once shared the frame comfortably are now separated by objects, doorways, or shadows. This creates quiet emotional distance even when they stand close. In earlier episodes, shared space meant shared goals. In episode 9, shared space feels tense and temporary. These choices hint that alliances are already breaking. Even if the script has not said it out loud yet, the camera is telling the truth. Before the characters do dot, another hidden detail appears in how time is treated. Scenes end abruptly instead of smoothly. Conversations stop mid-thought. This creates the feeling that plans are unfinished and unstable. The show is warning us that nobody has full control of what comes next when time feels rushed or cut short. It often means consequences are approaching. Episode 9 uses this technique to quietly speed up the tension without raising the volume. The pressure builds without noise. Clothing choices also act as signals. Characters who once dressed with confidence now wear darker, simpler looks. This is not just style, it reflects mindset. Simpler clothes suggest a shift from control to survival. People are preparing for loss even if they have not admitted it yet. Meanwhile, characters who dress sharply are often the ones hiding the most. The contrast matters. It tells us who feels secure and who is pretending to be. One of the strongest Easter eggs is how silence is used. Some scenes last longer than needed, allowing quiet moments to stretch. These pauses give the audience time to notice expressions, breathing, and hesitation. Silence becomes its own language. When someone avoids speaking, it often means they know more than they are saying. Episode 9 leans into this heavily. Silence replaces threats. It replaces promises. It becomes the warning sign that something bad is coming. By the end of this section, it becomes clear that episode 9 is packed with signals about the future. Nothing flashy is required because the danger is already present in every frame. The episode invites viewers to rewatch not for action, but for meaning. Every look, every pause, every repeated word points toward the same truth. The season is closing in, and the show is quietly preparing us for fallout that will feel sudden, even though the clues have been there all along. This section is where the episode starts whispering about the future instead of the present. Nothing is stated clearly, but everything feels like a warning. Small choices now carry heavy meaning. A look held too long, a decision delayed, or a plan shared with the wrong person all point toward outcomes that are coming fast. Episode 9 does not rush to show the consequences. but it carefully plants them. The show trusts the audience to feel that something bad is locked in, even if the characters do not see it yet. One of the strongest clues comes from how certain plans seem almost too easy. When a deal faces no resistance, it should raise concern. The episode uses this idea again and again. Whenever something goes smoothly, it feels unnatural. This is the show's way of telling us that success without struggle usually hides a trap. Characters who celebrate too early are the ones being positioned for a fall. The calm before the storm is not peace. It is preparation. Another important clue is how warnings are ignored. Someone offers advice that sounds simple, even casual, but it is brushed aside. These moments are easy to miss because they are not dramatic, but in this world, ignored advice often becomes the cause of downfall. The episode places these warnings quietly, almost gently, so they do not stand out on first watch. Only later will it be clear that the signs were there. The tragedy is not that danger arrives, but that it was announced and dismissed. There is also a pattern in who is kept in the dark. Certain characters are intentionally left out of key details. This is not accidental. It shows who is no longer trusted and who is being protected from the truth. Being uninformed might feel safe, but it actually makes someone expendable. The episode hints that those who know the least are the ones closest to harm. Knowledge becomes survival, and ignorance becomes a sentence waiting to be carried out. Foreshadowing also appears in how mistakes are framed. When a character makes a small error, the camera lingers just long enough for the audience to notice. This is not random. The show is marking these moments. It is saying, remember this, because it will matter later. These mistakes are not punished immediately, which makes them more dangerous. They stay alive, waiting for the right moment to return with consequences attached. The episode also plays with the idea of false control. Characters talk confidently about plans they believe they understand, but the way scenes are edited tells a different story. Cuts happen before answers are given. Reactions are shown instead of explanations. This creates doubt. It suggests that nobody truly sees the whole picture. Someone else is always a step ahead, shaping outcomes quietly. The audience begins to realize that control is an illusion, and the real power belongs to the one who stays silent and patient. By the end of this section, the future feels heavy and unavoidable. The episode has already decided where things are heading, even if it has not revealed how it will happen. Clues are everywhere, layered into conversations, pacing, and silence. The tension does not come from action, but from awareness. We can sense that losses are coming, betrayals are locked in, and survival will demand sacrifices. Episode 9 does not shout about the future. It whispers it. Trusting that the truth will hit harder when it finally arrives, this section revolves around the moment that quietly changes everything, even though it does not explode on screen the way many viewers expected. The biggest twist in episode 9 is not about who pulls a gun or who raises their voice. It is about realization. Someone finally understands they are not in control. And that understanding comes far too late. The power shift happens internally, before it ever becomes physical. This is what makes the twist so dangerous. It feels calm, almost normal, but it rewrites the balance of the entire season. What makes this twist effective is how natural it feels. There is no dramatic reveal or loud confrontation. Instead, the truth settles in slowly. A character notices something does not add up. A response feels off. A promise sounds empty. In that quiet space, reality hits. The episode allows the audience to experience this realization at the same time as the character, which makes it uncomfortable and tense. We are not shocked by action, but by understanding. The moment lands because it confirms what the episode has been hinting at all along. Someone has been walking straight into a trap they helped build. The twist also works because it exposes how much trust has already been lost. When the realization happens, there is no one left to turn to, no backup plan, no honest ally. That loneliness is the real punishment. The episode shows that betrayal does not always arrive as an attack. Sometimes it arrives as silence. The absence of support becomes the answer. When no one steps in, no one warns you, and no one reacts, that is when the truth becomes clear. You were never protected. You were only tolerated. Another layer of the twist is how it changes the meaning of earlier scenes. Conversations that once felt neutral suddenly feel manipulative. Pauses feel intentional. Decisions that seemed random now feel planned. The episode invites the audience to rethink everything they have just watched. This is where the writing shows strength. The twist does not add new information. It reframes existing information. That is why it feels earned instead of forced. The signs were always there. They were just ignored. The emotional weight of this twist comes from regret, not loud regret, but quiet acceptance. The character does not fight back immediately. They process, they understand, and in that moment of understanding, their fate becomes clear. The episode does not rush this realization. It lets it sit. This makes the moment heavier than any sudden act of violence. It tells us that the worst part is not what is about to happen, but knowing it could have been avoided. This twist also affects Tommy's position without needing him to say anything. His control becomes undeniable. He does not need to explain himself or prove anything. The situation itself proves it. Others realize they are reacting to moves that already happened. This confirms that Tommy is no longer responding to threats. He is creating outcomes. That shift places him above the chaos instead of inside it. The episode uses this twist to elevate him without glorifying him. It simply shows reality as it is by the end of this section. The audience understands that episode 9 was never about surprise. It was about confirmation. The twist confirms who is really in charge, who misread the game, and who waited too long to act. It also sets the emotional tone for what comes next. There is no return to balance now. The truth is out, even if it was never spoken. And once that truth is understood, the season can only move in one direction, toward fallout, loss, and consequences that were decided.